Hello friends, welcome back. In our previous video, we have discussed about securing ASP.NET Web API with JWT token. In this video, we are going to discuss about securing ASP.NET Core 2.0 applications with JWTs. In order to do that, let's start coding. File, new project. Here we will be selecting ASP.NET Core Web Application, and here we will give some name. For simplicity, I'm just giving name as JWT token. Okay, and just provide the directory location. In my case, I'm giving E drive. Okay. Here select Web API template. For simplicity, we have not enabled any type of authentication since we want to focus on JWT management. So click on OK. So the first thing we require to do here is go to startup class and go to configure service method. Here, this is the place where you define the JWT authentication, which is JWT bearer token settings. Since I already have a code for configure service method, for time saving I have already copied that, so I'll simply paste here. We'll discuss about it. So as you can see, we have pasted the JWT authentication code here. Through service, we are adding the authentication, and here we are adding the JWT bearer token. So just provide the name spacing for it. JWT bearer fix model tokens and text. Okay, what exactly we are doing here is, as you can read here, this method gets called by the runtime. Use this method to add services. So at the runtime, when the control comes here, it checks for the JWT validation, and here we have written that settings. Okay, here we are providing validate issuer as true, validate audience as true, validate lifetime true, sign in key true, and for valid issuer we are providing the value into the configuration, which is nothing but app settings.json. There we have to define the values which we are going to initialize here. Okay, so that we'll see in a bit. So just take a note of this code. Services.add authentication JWT bearer defaults dot authentication scheme. Under the authentication scheme, we are adding JWT bearer, and under that we are providing the token validation parameters, and yep, take a note of it. Next thing we require to do is, in configure method we have to provide app dot use authentication. It means it will use now the authentication of JWT. Like I said, for valid issuer, valid audience, we have defined the values in a configuration, which is nothing but in an app settings.json file. We have defined that values, so we have to define that value now in app settings.json. To do that, let's go to app settings.json file, and here we have to define the value, which we'll do in a bit. Right. Okay, so here we have a key called JWT. Under JWT we have key and issuer. You are just simply defining the value here. Whatever the key you want to add here, you can add and use that. So now next thing is we want to generate a token. All right, to generate a token we simply need to create a controller, create an empty controller, and then we will write the code inside it. I'm giving name as token. It can be any user defined name. Okay. Inside this, sorry, not this one, let's add the constructor code and the create token code. Okay, show potential fix. Let's use it. Potential fixes. Okay, so we are going to define a login model. So to do that, simply generate a class. Okay, just move your model to class to outside controller. So I'm just moving it outside. Okay, and just changing the namespace. Okay, here we will be adding the properties, which is username and password. Now we'll go back to the controller, and here there are a couple of things we need to set. The first thing is here, just private configuration underscore config, and private, right, and then you also need to define the build token method. Okay, and lastly the authenticate method. Under authenticate method, again we have a class called user model. Okay, we will define it in a moment. Go to solution, add new class, and the name we are going to provide is user model. So yeah, select user model, add and justify. Okay, go back to task controller. Now let's define the namespacing of this. Okay, encoding is system text. JWT security is JWT. Okay, fine. Let's note down the code for this. So in controller we have defined iConfiguration variable under constructor. Then we are using the values which we have defined in app.json file for JWT. Okay, here we have created a action method called create token, and we are using login model for that. All right, and we are checking whether the user is authenticate or not through authenticate method, and once user is not null, we are building a token, right, and we are simply passing that token back to the user. So this is the code for build token. Here we have defined the key credentials, and this is how we are generating the token. Okay, when the token gets expired, what is the configuration, who is the issuer, right? And finally we are returning the security token. We are writing the token through JWT security token handler. Okay, and here we have authenticate method. Here, for simplicity's sake, we are providing a static username and password. In real time we have to check it through the database. However, for our demo purpose we are using static username and password. Here just changes it to controller and grabbing it. Now the next thing we require to do is go to our API, and here, okay, before we authorize it, let's run and check the results for this controller first. So let's run it, and we are able to access the API values controller. Once we implement the security, it will now allow us. Okay, let's see that. So in values controller, I'm just decorating with attribute called authorize over the get. Okay, and let's see if we able to get the values for the same. So yeah, we are not getting it. This is quite obvious because now we have secured our action with authorized attribute. To get the values from it, this is the thing we'll do through Postman. Okay, and we'll pass the token. First we'll generate the token, then we'll pass the token, and finally we'll get the values. Let's see it. So in Postman, just simply paste that URL and just call the token post in body, right? Raw, and we're providing JSON. In here, provide the username and password and click on send. We are doing a post request, raw, JSON type, and the JSON data. Right, so we got a token generated, and we'll be using this token. To use this token, just do a get request, then values is our controller. If we just click send, we are not going to get anything. This is the 401 unauthorized error we are going to get. So just go and copy this code and come back to get. Here select type as bearer token, provide your token here, and just click send. Here we got the values. Okay, so we have been authorized to JWT token, and we got the values through using that token. So that's it, folks. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and if you like this video, please do click like on this video, and please do subscribe for more upcoming videos like this. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in next video. Thank you.